Hi, I'm Bill Arnold. Thank you for listening to this podcast. There are many more podcasts available at myfaithradio.com. Your support makes this possible. Thank you. And now the show that's only half the price of those brand name shows.
Oh, don't you know, it's the Bill Arnold Show. It's Bill.
And a warm welcome to the Bill Arnold Show. It wasn't that long ago I had a chance to sit down with my friend Heather Fleece, who is a youth pastor at Wooddale Church, and we put it up on our YouTube channel. Why talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, I certainly can. So if you go to YouTube, whether you have the app on your phone or if you're on a laptop and you search Faith Radio or Faith Radio Network, you'll come to our page. There's all sorts of videos on there from Bill's show, Susie Larson Live, the Reconnect with Carmen, and the one we're specifically talking about was done we released it a few weeks ago on YouTube, and today we have the special opportunity of airing it right here on Faith Radio as well, which is what you're going to hear coming up in a few minutes. But if you want to watch Bill and Heather, and who doesn't, head on over to YouTube. I guess Bill doesn't, but if you head on over to YouTube and search, again, Faith Radio, go to our page, you'll be able to find that video and watch everything that they had to say, which is kind of fun. So, yeah.
I can't stress enough how important youth ministry is, and I know why you and your wife, Haley, are involved in it right now at your church.
That is correct, yeah. So that's what the entire conversation is going to be with you and Heather, is youth ministry, because she's been doing it for, 30 years, I think, in the role she's in now, 34
in the
total.
Same place.
Correct, all in the same place.
Yeah.
And so me and my wife, we've only been doing it 2 years, so we got a ways to go to get to 34. But there is a need for it. It is vitally important to reach these kids when they're younger, get them to hunger after Jesus, be asking questions, pursuing that. And so it's been very rewarding for us on Wednesday nights, me and my wife Haley, to be a part of that and be with these kids. And so, yeah, it's been a treat for us, and hopefully for people who are interested in taking that step, want to know more about it. We'll get a lot from the conversation they're going to hear with you and Heather.
It seems pretty rare that a person is going to be in a youth ministry role for as long as Heather's been, because that's really where there's incredible benefit, because you can teach brothers and sisters, have them in the group over years.
Yeah.
And a lot of people, I think, have stepped into a youth ministry role and used it as a stepping stone to get into another job.
No question. I think of the pastor at our church right now. He's the lead pastor. He started as a youth pastor. I think a lot of people do, and there's nothing wrong with eventually wanting to be a lead pastor, but there is an incredible need to be with the youth, to your point, because they're struggling with all sorts of things, and especially in this day and age, Bill, there is so much stuff vying for their attention, distracting them. I mean, the issues that kids are facing today, whether it's middle school, high school, it's at an all-time high because of the screens that they have in front of them and the ability to access information like never before.
And here's what Heather does. She creates a very safe place where students are going to feel loved and they're going to feel accepted, and she's going to build a friendship that's going to have a foundation in faith. And then she's going to find ways to connect to them in her own unique style and ways, and she's going to then identify students who are emerging as leaders, who are really ready to take that next step. So helping these students and raising up young leaders and helping them to understand how to step into their faith, how to develop their character and their purpose and their meaning in life.
Right. And you do need to connect with them in a unique way. If they're treated as just another number or you can't relate to them in any way, kids pick up on that. They're smart. You know, they're going to notice that in any relationship, Bill. If I treated you as just another person or you treated me as somebody who you just see for work every day, I mean, people react to that. They feel that. There needs to be a special bond, a connection. And I think that's what Heather does so well. She's got so much energy and passion for this, even after the 34 years that she's been doing it, and that is incredibly rare to find.
And I think teenagers or kids in youth group can spot phony pretty quickly.
No question.
And they're really good at that.
Well, it's because they're experiencing it on a daily basis at school.
Right. So when the authentic person shows up, a person like Heather, a person like you and Haley, they spot it. They identify it as someone that I want to learn from and I can build trust with. And I think kids today learn more through relationships than they do specific kind of events.
Yeah, I would agree with that too. I mean, think about the impact that you can have on a kid's life. I mean, you might not be a parent, you might not be a grandparent, but there are people in the next generation that you can impact and have a big influence on. And so those relationship components are so important to be able to, again, connect with these kids. And more than anything, Bill, just make them feel seen and heard and loved and cared about, because you don't know what their background is. You don't know what they're walking into on a daily basis. And so to have that time with them, even if it is for a short amount of time, incredibly important. So there's a need to get after the youth and proclaim the name of Jesus and to be there for them. And so that's why it's timely to have this conversation with Heather like you did, and certainly looking forward to airing it today here on Faith Radio.
Well, I know my youth pastor didn't have to deal with things like social media pressure or identity confusion. There's all kinds of things that youth pastors today have to deal with that they didn't have to deal with a while ago.
Yeah, the screens, the phones, that
Yep.
hasn't helped. It's at an all-time high. And so that being said, Bill, I think, and this is something you and Heather talked about, the differences then 30 years ago versus now, and maybe what some of the issues still are today and how we can handle that. So lots of great stuff in this conversation. Again, if you want to watch the video version of it, you can head on over to YouTube, search Faith Radio, and then be able to find the video there as well. And certainly hope you do that and share it with somebody in your life that needs to hear it and maybe is involved in youth ministry or knows somebody who is. Hopefully it provides some encouragement, but fascinating conversation that we're going to get into here.
Well, why don't we just get to it now?
I think we can. So should we take a short break and come back?
Well, that's a great idea.
All right, let's do that.
We'll be right back. It is my deepest desire that you take the very first step of faith by placing your faith and trust in Jesus Christ. If you've got questions about what it means to begin a relationship with Jesus, text the word faith to 41224.
Welcome back to the Bill Arnold Show. I'm Bill's producer, Wyatt, and as we mentioned earlier this hour, we have a special conversation with Bill and his friend Heather Fleece on youth ministry. It was recorded off-site. We hope you enjoy it. Here it is.
I'm Bill Arnold, and I'm so glad to be here with my friend Heather Fleece, and she has been involved in youth ministry for a total of 34 years, but more importantly, 30 of those 34 years has been in one location, which is a game changer in the lives of the youth,
Yeah,
right? Heather,
absolutely.
welcome.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Thanks, Bill.
Yeah, first of all, Heather Fleece, which is a great name, but it's spelled F-L-I-E-S.
Yeah, it's German,
Yeah, okay.
so it means we pronounce the E, not the I.
Yeah,
So it looks like flies, but it's pronounced fleece.
and people want to say flies all the
Oh,
time?
flies, especially at the airport. They love it.
Yeah.
Oh, Heather Flies.
Oh,
And then Heather Flees is the other one that I get a lot. But my maiden name was also German, Heather Heinsch,
Oh.
H-E-I-N-S-C-H. So it's been slaughtered my whole life.
Okay.
So it's actually quite simple
Yeah.
now.
Well, let's get into a 30-year block of youth ministry at Wooddale Church right here in Eden Prairie, Minnesota. And the remarkable thing of that, in my opinion, is the power of consistency.
Yeah. Yeah. For those who don't know the cycles within youth ministry, back when I started, they said it was an average of 18 months. That's how long a youth pastor stayed. I can't believe it's that now because of all of the training and the education that's happened. But I would say 2.5 years is what I see the most. And so imagine, Bill, you're a 13-year-old kid, and every 2 to 3 years, you are asked to connect with and reconnect with somebody who you just anticipate is going to be leaving you anyway. It's just such a hard thing for teenagers and for families. So to just simply be there, I say often that one of the reasons why our junior high ministry is so successful is I've just been there. Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah.
Yeah, let's talk a little bit about the power and importance of youth ministry, because I really was raised in a Christian home, but I really made a personal decision for Christ because of my youth minister.
Yeah. Oh, you were a teenager.
I was 12 and a half. 12 and a half when I made a decision.
And were you here in Minnesota, and were you at a local church?
I was, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And did that person stick the whole time? Do you remember?
The whole time.
Wow.
The whole time. He worked there probably around 35 years.
Okay.
Yeah. And it was consistent. Everybody knew him. Everybody loved him. Everyone trusted him. And you could tell that he liked us.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah, you could tell
See,
that
yeah.
that we meant something to him.
Yeah.
And he invested in us. And
he invested in our older sisters, our younger sisters, everybody else.
Yeah. Kids pick up on it real quick if somebody genuinely likes them or not. You think of teachers in the classroom, but youth pastors especially. And what's the importance of it? Parents have such a huge job with their own kids. You know, they're managing so many different things. I tell my parents all the time, I have the best job because I just get to come alongside of you and support you. And I get to be somebody who says the same thing as you, but I'm heard in a different way. Because I'm not telling them to do their homework. I'm not telling them to clean up their room. I actually get to take them away on a weekend and give them a bunch of sugar and a bunch of caffeine. And then I send them back home to you. But it's such a great role to play because families need help. Parents are at a loss, especially with their firstborn children. Where do you fall in the lineup of your family?
I have 3 older sisters, so I'm number 4.
You are the youngest of
Mm.
4 and
Mhm.
3 older sisters.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
It's amazing that you made it. I am the baby of 6, 2 boys and 4 girls. But, like the firstborn child, it feels like there's an alien living in their home. I mean, that's what parents say to me. They're like, I have no idea. Like he was one way the night before and now he's this way and we don't even know what to do. So to be able to come in with those parents and normalize some of what's going on is just so great. But then to just be an outlet for the kid to have another adult that's not telling them to clean up their room.
Yeah.
I love it.
Heather, do you think that some of the parents bring their kids to youth ministry and go, hey, you figure them out, get them on the right track?
I'm contracted.
I
Yeah,
bet.
especially when it comes to sex
Yep.
and when it comes to, loving your parents and behaving and that
And-
kind of
yeah.
thing. Yeah, unfortunately, there is a drop-off culture where parents drop their kid off at a door and expect that you will handle the spiritual aspect of their lives. And one of the most influential conversations I had was in passing when I was in college. And someone said that someone had asked them, hey, how's your spiritual life? And the person was like, you mean how's my life? Like, there's no category of this is the spiritual component of my life. We are spiritual. This is our whole life, right? And so you can't contract out a component. And so trying to help parents understand that, but then thinking, okay, well, if I am the one that's being, tasked with this, then I want to do it as well as I can.
Yeah. All right. The cameras are still running, but I think it's time for a beverage break.
Oh, great. Okay,
signal beverage
absolutely.
break. All right, here we go.
Mm-hmm.
That's some good lukewarm coffee. Well, I didn't know it was going to be that cold. That was horrible. When we talk about the significance of youth ministry, and I am so, I think of you as kind of the heroes of the church, honestly, because you are in the weeds with these kids, going through the ups and downs, the rejections, the disappointments, the heartbreaks, the breakups, everything. That all comes into your department, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does. I mean, in the awkward stages, the
Oh,
insecurity, right? They're just trying to figure out who they are. And for all of my time, I've seen kids kind of try on different hats, different personas.
Yeah.
And of course, now within our culture, that's even more intense. But yeah, there are a lot of ups and downs, a lot of celebration, and a lot of real hard times, kids in fetal positions, just not even knowing if they can make it another day.
Yeah. Well, so these kids that you work with are all digital natives. They grew up with a phone in their hand, or maybe when they were 3, they had an iPad that they were looking at to be distracted, watching videos. And that is such a different time from when I grew up. Now, for example, the youth group I used to go to, it was Monday nights, and it was usually a person's house. Had a nice big basement, and there was probably 50 of us in the room. And the youth minister would come in and say, hi, everybody. All right, let's open in prayer and then open our Bibles to John chapter 5.
Wow.
And we just started studying God's word.
Wow. Not even a game.
There's no games.
Wow.
There's
not
no
even a
nothing.
snack.
Well, there was cookies on the way out.
Okay. On
That
the
was
way
it.
out.
Yeah.
Your reward.
But that kept the sugar levels down during the study time. And we couldn't get enough of it.
Right.
We just loved it. And that it's a very different day today, isn't it?
And I'm sure we'll come and swing back around to this, Bill, but there is a resurgence of that.
Good.
Snacks are still very important.
I get that.
But there is a resurgence. There is a hunger that's coming around. I work specifically with 7th through 9th grade, so I have 12 to 15-year-olds, which is quite a span. And so I see a lot of different things. But I am convinced that youth ministry is of greater need than ever before. And not that it wasn't important before, but I tell my parents often, we've got to turn up the voice of God. The world is screaming at them. To your point, a device, devices everywhere. The world is screaming at them. And if we don't turn up God's voice, they will be overcome by the voice of the world.
Yeah.
And so that's part of my job, a big part of my job.
Saturday, I was at the gym, and there was a group of about 6 high school kids, and they were all gathered, and all 6 were looking at their phones. They're not even talking to each other.
Oh, I know.
But they were all kind of working out together.
Yeah, that's the aspect of this generation that we don't understand. They found that to be a valid relational connection, what they were doing in that moment.
Mm-hmm.
I have kids who will tell me about their best friend, and they'll describe conversations they've had and who this person is. And after about 25 minutes or so, I'll say, is this friend that somebody that lives here in Minnesota? And so often it's not. And they truly experience this person as their best friend, and they live in Tennessee.
Have they ever met?
No.
Ooh.
Nope. So they've FaceTimed,
Yeah.
maybe.
Yeah.
Of course, they've Snapchatted. They probably play video games together.
Okay.
But the connection and the relationship is real. But we just don't understand that because so much of our world was face-to-face and not digital. I mean, do you remember when the fax machine came out, Bill? We were like, whoa, wait, what? Like, you just said that to me, and I have it right in front of me.
I just bought one last week. What are you talking about?
And
I couldn't be happier.
I tell kids about our corded phones and how we'd go to Pomida and buy the extension so that I could bring
Get
it
into the bathroom.
You're right. No, we had a pantry, thankfully.
The pantry,
The
yeah.
little pantry, and I had a little stool, and that's where I would have my conversations.
Yeah.
And it's just so different. We're a little controversial in our junior high ministry. I don't allow students to have phones on any retreat, camp, or mission trip. Right? So we just got back from snow camp.
Nice.
And I had a huge group of kids, and not one of them had a phone. And it's such a gift to watch them when they're not distracted and to let them just be kids. But we have, more like local events for 3 or 4 hours, and I just don't fight it at that point. And I just tell them, hey, don't miss what's here on the bus. Put your phone away. But I walked up to 2 boys that were sitting in a seat on the bus, and they were both playing the same video game on separate phones, but against each other. And I almost said something, but then I just watched, and they were literally interacting. They were laughing, they were commentating, they were vocal, they were next to each other. And I thought, I'm not going to stop that because that's legitimate for them, even though it's so confusing to us. Another example that just pops into my head, Bill, is the idea of cutting. Okay, so this is something that actually came up when I first was starting, and I was 20 years old when I first heard of someone who was cutting. And I remember it being so confusing to us as adults because, you get a paper cut, right? And then you get some lemon juice in it, and what happens to you? You crumble.
Crying like a baby.
We just can't imagine doing that to ourselves. And though when we grew up, if you cut yourself, if you slit your wrists, you were attempting to die.
Yes, you were.
So pivotal conversation I had with my friend Marv Penner. He said, Heather, teenagers don't cut to die. They cut to live. So they cut.
I can see that.
Right? I know.
Yeah.
But they cut to let the pain, to let the confusion out so that they can live another day. We just can't even wrap our minds around.
Yeah.
And so part of my challenge as a youth pastor has been to just try to set that aside and lean in and say, okay, I want to try to understand from their perspective why this is happening. And the other thing is, cutting is never the issue. It's a secondary issue. There's always something else that's happening that causes that kind of, self-harm to happen. But that's just another one that popped into my head that you and I just as adults just can't even imagine.
Mm-hmm.
Hope you're enjoying the conversation with Bill and Heather. We got to take a quick break and step aside, but we'll be right back with more in just a minute. Hope you're having a wonderful day. I'm Wyatt, the producer of The Bill Arnold Show, and you've been listening to a special conversation recorded off-site with Bill and his friend Heather Fleece. We're going to continue that conversation now.
All right, Heather, and my next topic is let's talk about sex. What?
Okay, no, it just seemed like you were a little uncomfortable.
No, not the least. Are you kidding? I just assume that's a hot topic with kids today,
It is.
and they're trying to figure out everything about it. And I don't know if kids are even having normal conversations with each other anymore. I mean, you remember when I was growing up, you had to, get the number and you had to call, and then the dad would answer, and you're making this horrible small talk with the dad.
Yeah.
It's.
But then you knew mostly everybody in the house was hearing, unless they had their own line.
Absolutely.
That was a big thing when I was in high school. You had your own line, but only a couple.
Did you have your own line?
No.
Oh, no.
Are you kidding? Marty Heinz would never allow that.
I didn't think so.
No.
But if you, when we were growing up, the phone, everybody heard your conversations.
Yes.
And now kids have their own little secret device. They can text people in private. They can do whatever they want and live a whole covert life.
Yeah. So let's back up the truck and talk first just about the perspective or the introduction to sexual things. Okay, so I don't know about you, but mine was my introduction to anything about sex because my parents were a little hesitant. They weren't taught well, right? So they weren't quite sure how to bring it up. And of course, health classes were scary in the public schools, so I was often pulled out of the health class. But, mine was at a slumber party with a bunch of other girls talking about things that I had no idea what they were talking about. Yeah. But that was kind of my first introduction. You?
Right. It didn't exist. It didn't exist.
Put out the book, shut the shade, shut off the phone, had one conversation when you were 6 and then thought they had the talk and taken care of it.
No, I had nothing.
So the exposure for these kids is crazy as to what they're exposed to in regards to like pornography.
It's unbelievable.
Okay. So for the first 12 years of my ministry, the standard was 6th grade. Boys were introduced to something pornographic in the 6th grade. I would say 15 years ago, summer camp, multiple of my volunteer staff had conversations with students, 50-50, boys and girls. And 2 girls in particular said that the first exposure was in the 2nd grade. So they're 8, Bill. And that they discovered it together. They were playing something on an iPad and there was a pop-up and they discovered it together. So this has kind of been a connection that they've had. So by the time they came to me in 7th grade, they had been addicted to pornography for 5 years. So you take an 8-year-old who has the developmental capacity to not understand these things, and they're seeing and being exposed to these things that are sexual. It's messed up, Bill. I mean, they can't even wrap their mind around it. We couldn't even when we were 14, So the hard part is their perspective is already tainted and warped as they move into the time when they're actually being, biologically changing and chemically changing, hormonally changing. And so it's just twisted. And isn't that just like Satan?
Yes.
Doesn't he take what God intended for good and for beauty and for connection and intimacy, and then he just twists it?
Mm-hmm.
He just takes it and he twists it. And so, it's a conversation I have a lot with students. We still do the every February for 4 weeks during the Wooddale Junior High Ministry, we have a love series where that's all we talk about and that's all we focus on. And get this, the first Wednesday night, they have to bring a parent. It's parent night during the Sex, Love, and Dating series. And it is one of the most awkward, wonderful nights of the year, and I love it. Yeah. But I want the parents, first of all, we make them have conversations about when they first were exposed to it. I mean, I try to normalize everything. I mean, I don't bring it to anything that's inappropriate, but I normalize it. But I also want the parents to know this is the kind of thing that we're going to be teaching your kid for the next 3 weeks, and you need to have the conversation at home. And I do challenge them with that. It can't just end here. I can't be contracted to take care of this. No. We've got to continue it. So we still do that. And then, of course, during normal teaching times, I'll reference Snapchat or I'll reference students being asked for nudes. Do you know what that is, Bill?
People that start to meet and they say, send me a picture of you like naked.
Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah, it's unbelievable.
And it starts, very kind of risque, more like, don't show me anything, but I can tell you don't have a shirt on. And then it just gets more and more and more. And it's incredible the demand that kids feel. I'll just say, especially from girls, because I talked to a lot of girls about it, that they feel so much pressure to send something to a boy. And then, of course, they promise they won't show anybody. And then that goes down the drain real quick.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah.
All right, Heather, let's talk about sexual identity. I know that it's got to be a big issue as well of kids that, they show up and they go, I'm confused. Are they?
Uh, how long is our time
I don't know. We've got
together?
till
Yeah.
2 days, I think we've got.
Yeah.
Well,
I just, it is, I would say, in my 34 years, it is the hardest conversation and the hardest topic and the hardest reality to navigate through. Because here again, the world is screaming at them. Okay. So every one of us moved through the adolescent process, and we all move through at a different pace, right? I was boy crazy at a different time than my friends were boy crazy, and vice versa. And we all had questions, and we all thought, oh, I like him. I don't. But we all moved through it, and it was all part of the process. So now, today, a kid starts to feel that way, and what's expressed is, hey, just explore that. Explore that. Figure that out. Maybe you are attracted to boys. Maybe you should explore that. And all of a sudden, this exploring happens. And many times it's physical, it's certainly relational, and it adds to the confusion. And then, of course, there's often a very welcoming group of people and an affirming group of people. So then I feel good about myself. And now I've entered into this whole space, which really, it's not the truth of who I am, but I think that it is. And now I'm putting on top of each other all of these experiences. And then is there a way to come back from that? It is really, really, really tough. And then not only am I navigating that, but I'm working with, I've got a great team of volunteer staff that work with me, and they lead life groups, and they're in cabins doing debrief with kids, and they're having one-on-ones, and so trying to help them understand how to navigate those kind of conversations as well. So I will tell you, I stole something from my friend Mark Ostreicher, who I would say if we went down the path, we disagree on how it all plays out. But I do agree with his first response when a kid comes to you and says something like, I think I'm gay, or I think I'm bi, or I want to be a boy, not a girl. That the first things you say are, I am so honored that you told me. And here's what I know. I love you. God loves you. And I want you here. We want you here. So honored you told me. God loves you. I love you. And we want you here. And I think so many kids, by the time they have the guts to say something, especially to someone in the church, they're so concerned about those four things. So to be able to not only say those things, but then back them up is a big deal. It's a big deal.
Would kids ever use that as a weapon against their parents? So if I'm a boy and I come down the stairs one morning in a dress and I'm saying, do you love me now?
Yeah, I mean, teenagers love to push the buttons of their parents.
That's what I mean.
Yeah. I mean, that'd be pretty extreme, but yes, for sure.
I mean, everyone's trying to get back at their parents.
Do we need to talk about you and your relationship with your parents, Bill?
No, but I know kids that were so rebellious against their parents that they would do anything to try to disrupt their world. Sure. And they went ahead and did outrageous things that caused incredible grief for their parents. And if you really loved me, do you love me now?
Yeah.
I think that's another test that kids could do.
So here's how I find it happens most is they actually test the waters with their parents.
Okay. Maybe they'll come down to the dress.
They'll tell them that they've got a buddy who wears a dress. But I mean, they'll say, they'll test it out and tell them something that seems pretty minor. And if the parents freak out about it, guess what happens, Bill? Like I'm shut down. Like clearly you freaked out about that. I cannot tell you about this. I cannot be honest with you about that. So here's when I'm with parents, this is what I say. You have got to master the poker face. And by the way, I grew up playing rook. Cards were of the devil. So me saying poker face is really kind of like, I don't even know what I'm really saying. But this idea that you have no emotion. You are just in and you are interested and you are with them. No matter how shocked you are. You just practice that poker face. You say, tell me a little bit more about that. Wow. I've not heard about that. Tell me what that word means, because I don't know what that word means that you just used, So this poker face, and I tell parents, you can freak out later when you're behind closed doors. But if you freak out, the conversation will stop and you will shut down any more sharing. And so you've got to be willing to do that. The other thing is, and I know we're going off topic, okay?
Yeah, we're good.
Parents have to understand that whenever their kids want to talk, that's when they need to talk. Okay, so I know so many moms, and I'll just speak because I'm a woman who, they quit their job and they stay at home because they just want to be there when their kids come home from school, and they want to be able to hear all about their day and be a support to them. I mean, if I'm a 14-year-old boy and I'm coming home from 8th grade and I've been there 8 hours, the last thing I want to do is chat it up with my mom. Like, I want to drop my bag, I want to grab a bag of chips, and I want to go downstairs in the basement and play
Reese's
video
peanut
games.
butter cups,
Right?
TV. That's what I want.
Yes,
Yes.
that's not their window. Okay, and their window is typically a very inconvenient time.
Yeah.
So my friend Susie said that her son would come home as a high schooler, like on a Friday night at like 11 o'clock. He'd come home, he'd hit curfew, and then he'd like crawl into bed with them. And she's like, I've been out for 2 hours.
Yeah.
She's like, I would open the window, I would pop a can of Diet Coke, I'd slap my face, I'd do whatever I could because that was his time.
Yeah.
Right?
Beautiful.
I heard of another mom who was cleaning the kitchen and her son came home and she had just cleaned the counter and he popped his butt right up on the counter, of course. And she started talking and she said, I've never had a cleaner kitchen because she just kept cleaning because for a boy especially,
Yeah.
this kind of conversation, you're exceptional, Bill. This kind of conversation is really hard for a teenage boy to have. But if I'm playing pool with a boy or if I'm doing something else, he'll talk forever. So she got that. So she just kept cleaning and he talked for like 35 minutes about his day. So we've got to be ready whenever they're ready to talk about it. But that's really tough. And then the other thing I counsel parents on is just always leave the door open. So at the end of a conversation, don't push too much. Don't ask 20 questions. Ask 3. And then just say something like, Bill, if you ever want to talk about this again, I'm all in. I'm all in. I'm here for you. This is too intensive a topic for us to wrap it up in one conversation, but the door is always open.
Yeah. And how important is it to be asking specific questions? Because, if a kid comes home from school and the parent says, how was your day?
How's your day?
Fine.
Yeah.
You've got nothing. But if you're asked a specific question, you might have an answer.
Yeah, that's right.
Who'd you have lunch with today?
Yeah.
Oh, I sat down with Larry.
Yeah.
And Eddie, and we had a very funny conversation. What was so funny about it? You could start to just draw things out.
Yes.
Because our brain hates that word, how are you?
Yes.
For the most part.
Yep. And teenagers will resort to a one-word answer. That's just what
Yes,
they
they
do.
will.
Yeah. So when I'm with a kid, I'll be like, tell me 2 exceptional things that happened this week.
You'll love it.
And they have to think through because it can't be normal, but what are exceptional things that happened? Or I love, and this is a little bit different because I'm outside of the parent role, but I'll be like, walk me through your day. And they're like, well, I wake up at 6:30. I'm like, how do you wake up? You wake up with your own alarm? Does your mom come and wake you up? Do you get dragged out of bed? Do you take the bus? And I just love to have them walk me through their day because I don't get it. I don't get what a 9th grader deals with on a daily basis at their school.
That's a really great
But yeah,
strategy.
And to be like, tell me more about, or tell me about how your test went, or hey, I know you've been frustrated with Mr. Bankston. How did that go in science class today? But yeah, you're right. The conversation it needs to be better than how was your day?
Yeah. Heather, you are so authentic and you are so disarming and you are so present whenever you are with people, like right now even. But one of the things you do, which I find amazing, is you've got a case of like 300 nail polish colors.
Yeah.
Yeah. And you like to sit down with girls and paint their nails.
Yeah. So the current count is 319 bottles.
319, yeah.
I think 320 is a little excessive.
I think it's over that.
I just keep,
Yeah.
I take out the chunkiest one if I get a new one.
Let's
And I
not
throw
lose
it. You know what I'm
control.
saying? Yeah. But here's the deal.
Yeah.
I was at a conference where I was speaking, and during the breaks, they would literally set up a table for me, and I would have nail polish, and I would arm wrestle. So kids would line up. I would announce it from the stage. They'd line up at this table.
Yeah.
And they would either arm wrestle me or I would paint their nails.
Okay.
And my friend Kurt came up because he was at a church in California. He brought his kids and he's like, you are brilliant. And I was like, well, thank you. I'm like, no idea why. Why? And he said, Heather, a 13-year-old has no reason to come up to a 40-year-old. No reason.
Yeah.
You give them reasons.
Yes.
You give them reasons. And not only, so then now I've started adding, I talk about my dogs and I say, I would love to see a picture of your dog. I talk about how I'm a hugger. And I'm like, if you think you can hug better than me, I want you to come and hug me.
Nobody's got a part of hugging.
I actually work on my pec flies.
Nice.
That's one of my favorite exercises so that I can hug better. And then nail painting and arm wrestling. But the cool thing about nail painting and arm wrestling is you're touching.
That's what I mean.
It's such
You've
an
got
intimate thing.
quiet moment.
Yeah, and you've got a captive audience, and it's a distraction, right? Because you can look at your fingers or you can look at me. But I'm saying things like, tell me two elements in your bedroom that I would think are surprising, you know. And I'm asking their full name, middle name included. Tell me what you know about your middle name, like. But I'm literally touching them. And same with arm wrestling. It's just so. It's so fun, and I'm unusually strong, not just for like a girl, but for a human being. And
No,
so
you're incredibly strong.
it's the Lord causes boys to be humbled and girls through me.
Yeah.
Sometimes.
I mean, not to mention you and your husband have 2 St. Bernards that collectively weigh 300 pounds. I mean, it takes a strong person to try to get the dog in the car to go to the vet.
That's exactly right.
Yeah.
And I'll just a shout out to my husband, Chad. Though we've been married, it'll be 25 years in May. And he is one of my greatest partners in ministry. He is not paid by the church to be in youth ministry, but that's how we met. He came to volunteer, and he's actually a girls basketball coach. So he coaches in Chanhassen High School for girls, and he's got an AAU team with North Tartan. So our lives are filled with teenagers. We don't have kids of our own, and that surprises some people, but we believe we were brought together to love other people's teenagers. But Chad is just such a great support for me, and he loves that God created me to do this, and he supports me in doing this. He's not needy. He never, is like, why are you going to that hockey game and not staying with me? Like, and he's an extreme introvert, so that's helpful because he just likes to be in the basement, reading his Nook, watching NBA on mute.
You're the exact opposite. You're a complete extrovert, aren't you?
Showering is my least favorite part of a day.
Because you have to.
I have to do it by myself.
Yeah.
Yeah. And sometimes Mac Truck sticks his head in the shower, but it's just not the same.
Yeah.
But I'm in and out in 6.5 minutes.
Mac Truck is the name of one of your St. Bernards.
I guess clarify that. Mac Truck is the name of one of
that.
my St. Bernards.
Not to make it awkward.
And back to sex.
Yes.
Yeah, but it's been. I love what I get to do, and God has given me a supernatural love for students. And Bill, it's all I want to do. So I've had the opportunity to do a lot of different things, and I just know that what is life-giving to me is being with students. And the further I am away from that, the less life I will feel.
Well, there's more of this conversation with Bill and Heather on the way in just a few minutes, but we got to take a quick step aside. While we're away, head on over to YouTube, search My Faith Radio or just Faith Radio Network would work as well. And you can find the full video conversation of Bill and Heather there as well. We'll be back with the rest of this conversation in just a minute.
You might be the kind of person that goes to Paris and still listens to Faith Radio on the app. And I'm thinking of a particular couple from northern Minnesota. Or you might be more like the person that just goes into the next room in your apartment and listens. Well, the good news is using the app is just as easy in both places. Downloading the free app is crazy easy. Just text the word app to 877-933-2484 and then click the link. And if you happen to be in Paris, there is a coffee shop, but you should see the prices of biscotti. They have gone through the roof. I recommend avoiding it.
Welcome back to the Bill Arnold Show. My name is Wyatt, Bill's producer. You're listening to a special conversation with Bill and his friend Heather Fleece on youth ministry and much, much more. We're going to finish this conversation right now.
So 30 years in the business, 34 altogether.
34, yeah.
34 altogether.
2 churches, yeah. So I feel so bad when people reach out to me like, I'm transitioning churches and I just love to know what you think. I'm like, well, the one time I did it back in 1995.
Yeah.
But
yeah. So what do you see today that is the most shocking? Because I'm sure there are more things brought to you today that you wouldn't have dreamed of having come to you 25 years ago.
Yeah.
Or do I have that wrong?
Yeah. Well, what I'm going to say might seem controversial, and I think there would be
this
people.
show's all about controversy.
I think there will be people who would argue with me, but I am convinced that when I started in 1992, that the core issues are still the same.
Yeah.
They're the same, Bill.
Yeah.
So there was comparison, there was insecurity, there was self-esteem issues, there was bullying. There were parent issues. There were suicidal ideations. I mean, all of it was there. But then in 2010, it all became magnified.
Whoa.
So that smartphone started to be in the hand of everybody. And all of those issues I've just said just blew up.
Mm-hmm.
And so here's the cool thing that I tell my volunteer staff is that the anecdote to all of those issues is still the same, that we want to see kids, we want to know them, we want to love them, want to celebrate them, come alongside of them, let them know we take them serious. All the things that I was doing in 1992, hopefully I'm doing them better, but all those same things, it's exactly what they need now. And I would say they need it like on turbo because of the digital world that they're living in. Those relationships that we talked about that they think are real, we know that they don't compare to this. And so if I can do that to a kid today, I think it actually means more than it did in 1992. So the core issues are the same. Do they look different? Sure, they look different. And you know, the sexual identity piece and the world in which we live and how the kids are very aware of the world in which we live. I mean, do you remember? I was clueless of things that were happening outside of Owatonna, Minnesota.
Oh, of course.
When I was 13 years old. And now, I mean, instantly they know something that's happening halfway across the globe and they're stressed about it or they're angry about it or they're lit up about it. I just can't even imagine trying to process that when you're 13 and you've got all that other stuff coming at you.
One of the things about social media is when I was growing up, and probably you as well, there was times where you might have had difficulty at school, but then you went home and you had a refuge, a sanctuary from that.
Yes, home was a safe place.
Home was a safe place.
Yeah.
But you get home now and the badgering continues. Yeah. I'm saying with social media and with comparison and everything else.
Sure.
And that triggered something you said. And then I remember as a kid in grade school, we thought we were funny, us boys, and we teased a girl because we thought we were funny.
Yeah.
And she was a little awkward and a little tall, a little lanky, and we teased her. Yeah. And there wasn't anyone that came alongside us and said, you know, what you're doing to Lynn is not very nice. Yeah. No one ever said that to us. Wow. And I think of the way that we must have psychologically had a very negative impact on poor Lynn. Mm-hmm. And when she was 20 years old, she put a gun in her mouth and pulled the trigger. Oh. And don't tell me that I don't, to this day, feel a little bit of responsibility. Yeah. I didn't want to badger her. Yeah. Make her life miserable, and think of this little girl going home at night feeling almost tortured by kids at school. Yeah.
And probably didn't want to, she was embarrassed, so she didn't want to tell anybody about it.
Probably, yeah.
So then nobody could counter that.
Yeah.
Right? Nobody could speak something different to that.
Yeah. And, you know, we were pretty nice kids at a nice little Catholic grade school.
Yeah.
You know? So having adults come along and say, you kids think you're being funny, but you're not. Yeah. I wish there was more of that going on too, because the teasing and the bullying and everything else is such a serious topic.
Yeah. And I would say, I even though I'm not super excited about how extreme so many things are in the school setting, I am thankful that there is so much teaching and so much accountability for bullying and things like that, at least in person. But Bill, they can't control what happens online. And what happens, like to your point, when kids are out of the school or even when they're in the school, but it's on a platform that they can't keep track of. Yeah. And it's incredible. And one of the things that research has shown is that a kid disassociates herself with what it is that she's writing because she doesn't have to look at somebody. So she is so much more loose with what she will write on a comment or on a post than she would if that person was sitting near her. And that's just something that, that shield that we have from the screen. And I mean, we see it in the adult world, what people are willing to say and the critique they're willing to give people it's just outlandish. Yeah. And you wouldn't do it if you were face to face.
And what about some of the increase in meds that kids are taking today?
Oh, wow.
I mean, there was no such thing as meds when I was in school. No, I remember this one kid. He would have definitely been labeled as ADHD, without a doubt. Yes. He couldn't even sit still when he was eating his lunch. He was standing eating.
Yes.
And, today he's a retired multimillionaire, right? So, and I'm glad no one medicated him back then because he was being his best version of him.
Yeah. Yeah. And how much of it is just a boy being an energetic boy? I know. Yeah. So I'll say this, because this also might be controversial. I'm just giving it to you today.
Yeah, you are.
Yeah. I am a big believer that we are a long way from the Garden of Eden. So we are a long way from how God intended our bodies to work.
I agree.
Bill. So what I say to a kid who's struggling, let's say with anxiety or depression, is that if there's a little white pill that you can take once a day that will help your chemical levels in your brain to go from here to where God intended them to be, even just for a season of your life, I think you should take it.
Yeah.
Okay. So I'm a believer in that, but I have been overwhelmed by how quickly kids, especially boys, have been medicated in the last 10 years. It's just, we're just so quick to give them a pill, and then they just don't feel like themselves. They feel cloudy. They feel sedated. And I just wonder what we're doing to a kid. So I agree that it's been over the top. But I also agree that there are some situations where it's needed. And that's where parents need wisdom, and we need better resources for parents to have.
Yeah. Heather, inspire us now with the emerging leaders that you see come through after 30 years. You've seen people that have really done magnificent things. And even today in the youth group that you have tonight, you will see kids and you'll go, oh, okay, leader, right?
Yeah. One of the fun things about staying somewhere so long is that of my leaders that I have working with me on Sundays and Wednesdays, 40% are former students. So now they've come back. I've probably married them, right? I've officiated their weddings. I've baptized them. And now we're friends, which is so fun because we have this layer of mentorship that is included in our friendship, but now we're adult friends. So it's so fun. And to see them pouring back into kids just like they were poured into is also a beautiful thing. So that's awesome. I would say it's exciting because I think we've learned a lot about identifying, like just within the church, especially identifying spiritual gifting within kids and calling out the things that are in them. I mean, if somebody would have called out my leadership and my encouragement and my teaching when I was young, where could I be even now?
Powerful, right? Isn't it?
But it wasn't until I was 20 that I took a spiritual gift survey. So I have all of my ninth graders take it in our doctrinal class because I say, when you say yes to Jesus, he administers gifts. The Holy Spirit administers gifts to you that are supposed to be used, right, for the church first, but then it flows out into the world. So I think we've done a better job of identifying those when kids are younger and then putting them in positions where they can use those. And so kids just get an idea of who they are earlier and more exposure that they can have opportunities to play that out. And oh, controversy again, because I don't know who our audience is, but growing up at Bethel Baptist Church in Owatonna, Bill, I never saw a female in leadership above Sunday school. Never on the platform, never, I mean, even the offering plate pastors were men. And I was never upset about that. That was just the way that it was. One of my favorite things about doing what I do, both in Wooddale and outside when I get to travel and speak, is that girls get to see a girl who's doing this and see that it's actually an option. Because I didn't know it was an option until I got to Bethel and saw Sherry Bungie Mortensen, who was the associate campus pastor. And I was like, wait, what? And she called it out in me and modeled it for me, and the rest is history. And so the fact that I get to do that, and I actually like that the boys get to see a strong, competent woman who loves Jesus and isn't afraid to talk about it. I like to have them do it too.
You know, I think I'm running out of questions.
Oh,
so I don't know if we're going to wrap this up here pretty quick or not. But
you're funny.
Yeah, it's been just amazing conversation. I've loved being able to catch up with you and to find out 30 years have already passed at Wooddale, and you are doing amazing work. And the whole idea that you have said yes to what God has called you to do, and you've stuck in this position and are making a difference in the lives of so many kids is so cool.
Yeah.
And you're no stranger to Northwestern. You used to be on radio here. Was it a couple of years
so
we did the show?
I graduated from Bethel, but I was a communication major there. And when it came time for my internship, my senior year, Chuck and John were on the morning show, and I just thought they were so cool and so fun, and I was interested in radio potentially. And so I did my internship here at KTIS Radio. And then, it's probably been 13 years ago now. My friend Julie Nelson, Cindy Olson, and I did the conversation on Faith Radio for 2 years and had a great time doing that. And basically, it just got to be too tough because our lives outside of the studio got pretty complicated. And so once we got here, we just loved it. But the getting here for the three of us was tough. And so it was a really fun 2-year run, but we loved it.
Yeah. Any encouraging words to the parents out there that are watching this?
I want you to know that God has placed you in the position that you're in on purpose and with a reason, and he's equipped you. And I know so often it's overwhelming, especially if you've got 3 kids and they're all different kinds of personalities and they're all, different motivated and differently disciplined, but God has given you what you need. So just cling tightly to him. And I would just say the biggest thing that you can do, if you are modeling your own faith, if you are pouring into your own relationship with the Lord, that is going to be one of the biggest things you can do to love your kids well and show them the path that it means to have a lifelong faith.
Hope you enjoyed the show today. Thanks for listening. If you want to listen and actually watch that entire conversation you just heard with Bill and his friend Heather, you can go to YouTube, search Faith Radio, and find the full conversation and video there as well. Hope you have a blessed night, and we'll see you tomorrow on The Bill Arnold Show.
Thanks for listening. Programming like this is made available through your support. Information available at myfaithradio.com.
In celebration of Easter, an epic 4-part audio podcast series, The Christ.
He's not just a boy.
Yet he is. And what will they do to him when they find out who he really is?
They will worship him.
Featuring the Emmy and Golden Globe Award-nominated voices of Tom Pelphrey, David Oyelowo, Paul Walter Hauser, John Rhys Davies, and Patricia Heaton.
My hour has not yet come.
My son, your hour was written before time.
It's the greatest story ever told. Hear it in an all-new way. The Christ.
He said, open your ears, and they were open.
An epic audio podcast series.
The tomb is empty.
Featuring an all-star cast.
Any power that you have has been given to you from above by he who sent me.
He claims to be a king.
You are the father of lies, and you have lost. It has already been written.
And it is being unwritten by me!
Don't miss an episode. Listen and follow The Christ wherever you get your podcasts.